Okay, my outstanding friends, they are finally walking into my realm. Today, they just announced about these asteroids and the type of materials that make these asteroids up. And guess what? It's exactly what I've been saying. They're made of organics. All right? They're looking for calcium, aluminum-rich inclusions, chondrules, chondrites. Wait till I show you what they are. They are body parts, and space is nothing but loaded with body parts. It smells like steak. Alright, we're going to talk about chondrules and chondrites, and this is exactly what this is. You see what this is? I'm going to explain to you, and I'm going to show you. This is an anatomical body part, and it is a lung, and that's the flap, which is called the interstitial flap. Wait till I show you this. So don't forget now, I'm saying this is nothing more than these exact same things, what they call chondrules, chondrites, and they find them in space. And that's what they're looking for right here. Calcium, aluminum-rich inclusions, and chondrules, which are what I showed you. This is what's supposed to be a chondrule. Now, this is from Earth. This is not from outer space. But this has all of this is the anatomy of a lung, and we're going to look at it in the microscope, and you'll see that there's no question what it is, and it is a lung. And these chondrules and chondrites cooking in space are nothing but meat cooking in space. All right, these are the kind of things that are burning off in space, which is nothing more than body parts. I'm telling you, it's just a fact. Those who have sniffed the aroma liken it to burning metal, steak, welding, and among other peculiar smells. Space has its own unique smell, Scott Kelly said in a PBS interview. Whenever a vehicle docks, the smell of space when you open up a hatch is very distinct. And they all say the same thing, and it smells like barbecue gases that don't have enough oxygen to combust. You could make the identical same chemistry here on Earth by limiting the amount of oxygen that was in the air of extremely illuminated body parts. That's all they are. And I have them here. I'm going to show you. I have them here coming from space. That's right there. That is a little tiny meteorite. It's an iron meteorite right now, but it still has blood in it, and I will show you that. And I'm going to show you a ton of things. I have another one here that came through space that exploded. The blood. Well, here it is, right here. Hold on, I'm going to find it. Oop, here we go. This one came through space. That's why this is cooked off and blanched off like this. And I believe this one did too. They cook like that, and they blanch off as they come through the atmosphere. And this one had still red, wet blood in here, and it exploded because it cooked. It expanded and exploded right off the side. This is the side that has the vein side, and they don't blow out like the artery side does. And I will show you all this stuff. I have this in so much detail. And there's no question what I'm saying needs to be examined. Let's put it that way. This is fascia, right? Not only is it fascia, it's feldspar. And it's also feathers of a goose. You see the goose's feather pattern? Collagens form fascia, which are membranes, skin, membranes, cells, feathers. They all have that flexible, fabricy nature to fascia because it stretches and coats around your organs and all that stuff. Now, and fascia is, when it stabilizes, it turns into feldspar. Feldspar is rich in the aluminum. Every single feldspar there is, and there is a ton of them, ends with AlO8, which is aluminum with 8 oxygens. Aluminum is not normally in your body. It doesn't attach. But when you die, or a creature dies, and it has to stabilize its own chemistry, it finds aluminum to become stable. Aluminum can go this way and it can go that way. It's one of the only molecules that can take on a bunch of extra electrons or give up a bunch of extra electrons. And you can do a test using acids and salts with aluminum inside of these two different mixtures, and it will eat the aluminum right up, both directions. Too much acid, too much salt. Both ways it'll eat it right up. That is unusual. Normally it goes one way or the other. Anyway, there's all kinds of chemistry. We're going to look at the microscope. We're going to look at how metals are formed. Because this is, I'm going to tell you right now, that's a toe. That is a toe. Oh, come on, Roger. Yes, it is. And that's the blood that's in that toe. And we're going to look this in a microscope. It's still got a little tiny piece of bone. You see that? That's bone. It depends on how the thing died, where it was. There's more little blood spot right there. And how the fluids filtered out through it. Because this also is a toe. Right? And that's the guy's, this is a big toe, and that's the guy's callus on his big toe right there. We're going to look at it in a microscope. Here's one right here. Here's another big toe from another oddball. I have all kind of different feet. That's a big toe. That's the nail at the top, and that's this guy's callus. He's got a callus there. You see that? I got these things coming out of my ears. I mean, I'm saturated with them. I got them everywhere. And this is another one of these chondrule situations, and I'm showing all the little, because this is a lung as well. That's a lung. This is a lung. And we're going to see this in the microscope, and then I'm going to show you the ones that they're coming in from outer space, and they think, you know, they're looking for all these different chemistry, and they just don't know what, they don't have any clue that all this stuff was biological. It's all biological. I've studied Comet 67P with a fine-tooth comb. I have all of the spectral analysis. I watched the Philae lander, the whole 9 yards, and it's saturated with all of these hydrocarbons, which is nothing more that's in your body, in the blood and all that stuff. And ferrous oxides, which is nothing more than blood as well, or your iron oxides. And you have them, they come in different oxide levels, because when you add oxygen to it, it's fully oxygenated. It's a Fe2O3, and then it goes to O2, and there's all the kind of variations in between. And they're different shades of colors and different amounts of oxygen. They're ferrous oxides. Anyway, we're going to get into this. If you're interested, you're interested. If you're not, Vios con Dios, amigo. This right here is a heart. That's a heart. And this is what's called water opal. Usually opals fill up with colors. You know, everybody sees the colored one. Well, why is there colors? Colors are from transition metals, which are these metals. They're these metals right here. All of these have a different color. And they're spectacular looking in some of them. But this is a heart, but it didn't have any transition metals to all it could take on was silicon. And that's why they call them water opals. But it's just exactly like an opal. It's just there was no transition metals. All right, we got a lot of thinking to do. All right, I told you this is a heart. Well, this is a heart, the cross-section of a heart. This is basically the same thing, and it has no colored metals in here. Now, let me show you what happens when you have an opal heart. Now, let's come down to opal and heart. Opal heart, here we go. Now, you see that? that's an opal heart. Now, that has all the transition metals. All these different colors are different transition metals. It's the same heart as this, only it's stabilized in a condition where these types of molecules were available to attach to the exact chemistry of the walls, the linings of the ventricles, the aorta, all of the different heartstrings, and these are all the different metals that are just floating in the blood. You see how this one's real red at the top? This heart was laying like this, and the red floated to the top because it's like just plasma. This, every color here is a metal. Metals are heavier and they drop to the bottom. So all of this metals, my point is they're just metals floating in the blood. All right, so we really need to start looking at things in a whole new different way, because I have other ones here like this that completely turn into blood. I mean, just totally, 100%. Now, I don't know whether that's a liver or a heart, but it's certainly red. I tell you that. All right, don't forget, what I'm telling you is all these brown-looking color things, like this goose head, even the feathers, this is all made from collagen type, collagen 1 and 3 primarily. And they end up bonding to aluminum. These are feldspars. All the rock-forming feldspars are aluminum silicate minerals. Aluminum oxide. These are all bonded and ended up being stabilized by aluminum, which normally never stabilizes in your body. It is the mover and shaker of molecules. That's what causes catalysts and enzymes to be so effective in your body. But they do not bond to your body. Once you die, they end up attaching and become aluminosilicates. And then inside the body, it's not feldspar anymore. It is basalts. Even though that's his neck right there, this is flesh. That right there is actually is an artery. And I've looked at that in a microscope. And you see the rest, all the rest is just this brown aluminosilicates, which is the feldspar. Now this side is flat as a pancake because they all died in the flood. And then they became preserved. Now, I understand now the process. It's nucleophilic substitution, but it was aided by an impact almost by Venus of Earth. Velikovsky did the research on this, and he said that the oceans literally boiled. And I believe that all of this stuff was parboiled in that catastrophe. And then the flesh and so forth is separated from the bones, exactly what it would in boiling water. And other stuff just completely stabilized on its own. Other stuff was completely flushed out, like this lung. It just boiled right out. Everything is still some iron oxides in there from the blood. And then you have stuff like this. Right, that's all feldspar too. But that's a lung, and it's a human lung, and that is where the DNA, I got the DNA out of, drill a little hole up inside there, and it's all red blood, and this is a left human lung, and it's tested human, DNA tested, and that's where the heart would have sat. It's right there. This is the pattern of the pleura on the lung. Any anatomist will tell you, they no question whatsoever what this is. And these tags hold it in. And they're called fascia tags now. I'm going to show you, because I have one right here in a microscope from a lung that has this same fascia tag. And I have other ones here. I have actually pieces of meat that have that fascia tag, and I'll show you that in in some other shots. But right now, if you want to look up above, that is that tag right there. Now let me turn the lights off so that I can, it's better to see it with this other light. Hold on. All right, here we go. Take a second to settle in. All right, you see that flap? That is an attachment to the main body, and that is a lung. It's a tiny little lung, and these are all the condrules. It's a condrule lung, and that is the flap. Now I'm going to move this around a little bit so you can see. You see all the little balls? See all those little balls everywhere? Those are condrules. Now if I cut this across, you'd see nothing but a whole batch of little circles, little balls. And you can see little red spots here and there, which is blood. All right, now let me show you that fascia tag in some other stuff I have here. And even in some, well, I'll show it to you right now. Okay, this is from an autopsy or whatever of a fascia tag that holds an organ or whatever into the body. Just as I showed you this fascia tag right here. It's the exact same tag. You see it? You orient it in the correct direction. Right there. And it holds this lung into the body of whatever creature it was in, and that's where the main entrance to the lung, the airway, goes in. All of the tubing and so forth has been eaten away from some chemistry that does that. A lot of times everything will still remain of the tubing and so forth. And I have shots of ones that are just flush with blood. But like this is an entryway here into the lung, and there'll be a bunch of different little spots here and there where you can get into the lung. It's kind of porous because it was a bunch of body little cavities in there, alveoli they call it. No, but this is the thing I wanted you to focus in. That's that little flap that holds it in. You see that one there? Watch this. Remember I showed you this piece here? This is that same flap right there. It's identical. Now I have a better shot of it from years ago when it was in better condition. There it is right there, see? There's that same flap. And it's the same flap that's on a lung too. This is on a piece of meat. That's meat. So this section of meat on this body was held in by this fascia flap. This is a fascia flap here too, on this lung. And there was one up here that I don't know what that's, a flap or whether that's just a pin that holds it in place. But this one had a flap the same as that one. Alright, so this is now known as a organ system, they call it now, with an interstitial organ system. And it just was discovered in 2018, and I've been working on this for almost 10 years with another guy, Gil Headley, and they were all involved in the same endeavor to try to understand this interstitial, because nobody ever understood it before. And now they are looking at it in a whole different way and understanding this is this fascia. That's why they're looking for these aluminosilicates. Now they may say whatever they want to say, but I'm telling you what, I've been talking to these people for almost 10 years about this, and all of a sudden I'm seeing that they're looking at it it looks to me like a different way, I hope. So we'll find out. Okay, I've been getting really a ton of people sending me stuff about this asteroid that they are doing these chemical analysis on. Now, snapshots of the samples reveal that the rock particles are composed of a hydrated matrix. Hydrated means, watery, which includes materials such as clay, carbon-based compounds embedded throughout. Well, what are we? We're carbon-based. Clay is what our flesh is. Some of the material properties were close to those of carbonaceous chondrites. Carbonaceous means carbonish. Chondrites means the things chondrules, which I was showing you, which are these things right here, chondrules, which are biological. A class of carbonaceous meteorites that we have in our collection, while some were clearly distinct, this fellow said, pill or person, whoever it was. Now, and I have my collection of meteorites too, and they are biological, and that, my friends, is, I know exactly what it is, and you're going to freak out if I tell you, so I'm not even going to bother to tell you. But when it came through the atmosphere, there was blood right there, and it was moist, and it exploded out of here. And we see them and find them here on Earth in rock formations, still with fresh blood in them, as Phil Harris found. Let me show you that. You see this? This was Phil Harris. He went out in 15 minutes after taking a challenge to see if he could find mud fossils. He found this rock, and when he found it, it was complete. He hit it with the hammer because he saw the red spot, and it opened up, and inside of it is fresh red blood. Exactly what would have been inside this meteorite. All right, fresh, wet, red blood. Now, if that rock had been heated to the extent it would be coming through the atmosphere, I don't know, a couple thousand degrees, whatever it was, not enough to vaporize it and explode it, but to explode any hydrated, watery substances like blood out, which is exactly what happened here. That would happen to his. If this was in space coming through and it was complete, it would blow out right out of there, because water expands 1,700 times when it vaporizes. So that watery stuff inside, encapsulated in this, just exploded it out like a bomb. And I've looked at this I have a good microscope that I can really see, and it's blood. And this is, came out of space. If anybody can contest that, I'd like to have them say why. And you can see, look at this here. This has structure to it that's just unbelievable. These are where the tendons anchor in, because this is a fingertip. I think I told you, I wouldn't tell you, but I just told you. And I have a terrestrial one here. Watch this. It's almost identical. Hold on. Oh boy, I won't find it. I got so much junk. Oh, here it is right here. All right. Here. Can you see this? Yeah. This is the terrestrial one. You remember I told you this is going to be full of blood and it just exploded out of here? Well, guess what? This one just leaked out. Same exact, identical. You look at this, the structure of it, it's identical. You see that hook right there? That hook right there and the hook right there? This is where the vein side is. They don't blow out. See, the vein is here and the vein is here. They don't blow out because they have clamps. And the same thing with this one here. That has a vein here and a vein right there. They don't blow out. See that one here, the same as this one? This one here, the same as that one? They don't blow out. But on the other side, the arterial side, they run right out. In this one, it just bled out. See it here and here? Well, here it doesn't. But it had two of them here in the same, just the two just like this here, right here. And the same as this one, has two here and two here. That's the structure of the blood supply to fingertips. Look at that. Look at that. It's identical. Only this one came through space. Now, I have so much stuff to present and evidence, and everything is feldspar. That stuff right there, that's feldspar. That's feldspar. And that's the skin around the fingers. That's feldspar too. And that's what's left of this. It boiled off most of the flesh and all of the cheap molecules. You can see some strappy stuff that's left over, and that hooked down to this anchor. There's an anchor here, a ball. You see that ball? That's the anchor that lets your fingers do all this twisting around. And they lock right in the side. Anyway, these are the same chemistry on the outside, and once you get to the inside, it changes. The inside is where you get your basalts and so forth. But going into the inside, you have your feldspars. That would explode coming through space. Thank you, Phil. Now, like I said, I can't account for this. I don't know why this happened, but they talk about battles in the heavens, and these are gigantic creatures. But they were here on Earth as well. That is a tendon enthesis, and I believe it's the heel of an Achilles tendon. And then it comes from the Achilles tendon up. This extreme glow out of here is particles of these, blood particles coming out, boiling out of an artery. That's going to be an artery. These ones here are not arteries. These are little blood vessels. And everything has to be fed with blood. So there's going to be little pieces of them you see how they're shooting off to this? It's just not blowing off of your dust. That's not dust. That is meat smoke. That's what it is. And when the sun hits it into these little blood vessels, they boil the little blood vessels and push out these particles. That's why astronauts smell them. The space is they say the whole entire space is loaded with them, and I agree. As far as I can determine, this they landed on this. Now I'm just going to run through. This was back in 2015. This is 67P, and they're showing some of this. Now these places don't shoot out gases. It's only the blood vessels. These are anchors. All right, and I can show you a lot of stuff. All right, you see that right there? That's a bundle of either tendon or muscle. I'm not certain, but you can see. You see the roundness of that thing. You see these little pinchy bundles. Those are, if you look into anatomy, you'll understand exactly what that is, and you'll understand what exactly this is. These are tendons. These are tendon fibrils. Up here they're gigantic, but on us they're, you need a microscope to see them. Now this is literally blood cells. It's eroded flesh. And when they did the chemistry on it, which I will show you, I'm sure I have it here somewhere, it was exactly identical to what is blood. Now here's giving off the gases and so forth, same thing as I showed before. This is, they have these pockets in them, and these are attachments to, and this is NASA. They're talking about exploring Trojan asteroids. Wherever you see these little blood vessels and so forth, that's not just accidental. That is a blood vessel, and they usually have a black one and a white one because it's arteries and veins. Now here is 67P. Look at it. That is. These are all blood vessels or tendons and whatnot, and that's the anchor, the Achilles heel, and it comes up to here, your tendon. And then when tendon stops, it goes into muscle. All right, that's what all tendons do, is they anchor muscles to something. Now this, I would say, is an Achilles tendon, and that's the heel, basically, calcaneus or something they call it, but let's just call it the heel of your foot. And then it goes up from there to the muscle, and that's the only way you can walk. And the muscles just erode right away. Rip, they snap right off in an abrupt transition, shown it 10 bazillion times. All right, that's just shooting out from they call them Dragon Balls. All right, this is a finger. You see that? That is actually a finger, and that's out there too. And here is the blood supply coming in from the finger going this way. All right, these are the tendons that run up, and they anchor here and they anchor up here. If I rotate this around, that's the fingertip right there. That is the grip skin. You see this? It's eroding. That's the grip skin. That's the anchor of the fingertip. They anchor into what's called an apical tuft, and I have one right here. Hold on. Here it is right here. This is an apical tuft. Now it actually sits right there. It still has a tendon ball locked into it, but that's what this does right here. That's this. That's that hole right there. I'm not kidding you. And then the tendon runs down to another anchor down here. Basically the same thing. You see, look at it carefully. Take your time. That's another anchor there. And then it runs down here. And these are the blood supply. You see the black and the white? Let's see if I can bring that over a little more. You see the black? That's the vein side, and that's the artery side right there. But that's a piece of a tendon, and that's another lock like this. They have to strap in so that you can make all of these movements. That's how tendons work. And that's the grip skin, which peels right off on the outside. And that's right there. That's this tendon right, that ball right there. Exact same thing. And that's something. All right, you see, remember I told you before, they don't gas off out of these. Though those are anchors, there's no blood supply to speak of in these. These are tubes that run in, and the sunlight is just catching it in the right way to boil the gases out of those tubes. And wherever the tube is facing, the gas shoots out, you see it? this way and 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 this way, and that down here, all of them shoot out, so forth. Some of them blast off this way, and if it was facing right in the correct way where you could see the artery, you see that huge plume coming out of there, because the arteries are gigantic compared to blood vessels. Okay, I followed this from day one. These are the two particles that they sampled up on 67P. And here is the spectral analysis of those two particles. And here it is right here. Ferrous oxides. Look at ferrous oxides. That's blood. Ferrous is iron. All right? Silicon, sodium, chlorides, hydrogen, carbon. All right, well, carbon, I didn't see chlorides. But hydrocarbons. That's hydrocarbons is biology. All of this was 100% biology, and they know that, and they said, holy smokes. See, Kenneth and Juliet, they're very, very similar. But one particle maybe came from a different part of the anatomy and had less hydrocarbons in it and a different concentration of ferrous oxides. But most of them had very similar silicon count, sodium, hydrocarbons not far off. So this is, it's biology. Let me just put it that way. All right, this is gases getting given off, and you see these little stub, boom, 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 boom. They're going to go all the way around that thing because that's the anchors that anchored it in. Whatever happened here, I don't know. There must have been some kind of gigantic nuclear explosion with creatures that were the size of just it's so enormous you can't put your finger on it. I mean, it's just beyond anybody's comprehension to even consider until I found all this evidence that supports what I'm saying. You get any anatomist, and I've had them. They've looked at it. They say, "Yeah, absolutely, you're right." They don't want me to bring their name into it because it's more than most people can let their mind go to. And when you're in that position where you can't let your mind open and you're in control of everybody else's mind, well, all right, they're just showing a pyramid on here. I don't know. This is somebody, I'm sure that's not there. They're showing how big the pyramid would be. That's what it is. But this is how big it would be on Raleigh, North Carolina. All right, that's a good size creature if it had a foot that size, a little tendon. And these are the dragon balls you see down in here. These are the ones, these are blood vessels. Everything has to be fed. Every single cell in your body, has to be completely, continuously nurtured. And I mean instantaneously. If your body loses oxygen for 4 minutes, your brain starts to die. 8 minutes, the case is closed, it's over. So what does that tell you? Every single molecule in your body is in continuous transition of giving up and taking in products to make it have energy, and to primarily oxygen is oxygen creates most of the breakdown of things. Oxygen has a lot of oxide activities. It's kind of hard to explain, but all these, they call these dragon balls, and when they hit the sun, hits it just the right way, that's when you get all that glow. And here's the chondrites. See, there's a chondrite cut. I mean, I've got so much of this stuff. These are chondrules. You see that? And that's nothing more than this right here. Where is it? Nothing more than this right here. Same thing. And these are little things they're looking at and being all psyched up about. Here's another meteorite, chondrule. And these are black and red and so forth. Those are blood. Those are from blood. And everything that I have found, 100%, is from a living creature. And that is a gigantic lung. I'm sorry, it is. And it can be checked right now. because I can see there's red spots all in here in the iron, and they just say, oh, that's iron oxide. Yes, it is, because that was a lung, and that's just like this here, and that's where all the iron oxides are in here. It's still tons of red blood in here. And that's what a lung looks like, and that's how they work. You have all these holes, alveoli, and this one got washed out with some kind of chemistry that forced all of the tissues that normally would coat that to go away. Now this one here is the one I had DNA tested. It's the same thing. It's another lung, but this one, nothing invaded it. This one, the tissue is actually pristine. I mean, totally. So it really makes a big difference in what kind of chemistry it ended up being protected in. Now this appeared to be protected in some kind of clean, non-corrosive, invasive chemistry. I don't know what else to say. This is brand new. This is not something that anybody's ever thought about before, really. Now this is the same thing as that, only this is just a tiny one. The bigger they are, the hotter they get. The hotter they get, the more they smelt. The more they smelt, the more you turn into raw iron. This one here still has a lot of blood in it, and I'm going to probably show this in a microscope. I know it's running kind of long, but it still has, it's loaded with blood. That's not just dirt, that's blood. And you can scrape that out of there. I mean, it comes right out. And this has all of the same fibers and fabrics as well, and we can still see a lot of them in this because it didn't heat up to the degree that that did. That one there is completely gone of all kinds of stuff. All right, these Mars meteorite. All right, this is I have the same exact meteorite this is right here. Look at this. You see that? That's a bonehead. You see these two holes right here? There are those two holes right there. If you look at it, and I have, this shot maybe doesn't show it well enough, but this is nothing more than exactly like this. Exactly like this. And the front of the bone is like this. And it's a meteorite. Yes, I agree with that. There it is right there. See the two holes? Why are those two holes there? And it burnt off. It's just, I agree with all those things they're saying. They just don't know what they are saying. Here's veins in a meteorite. Where do you see this one? Check this out. This is an iron meteorite. Now, I believe this was probably a heart or a liver. I'm not sure. But this is the black right here. And this is the red right there, which is the vein and artery. That's the artery, the red, and there's the vein. Now, because everything is fed and returned. Now, they cut it across, and it was probably started out something like this, only it was iron. This one here I don't think has anything to do with iron. I broke it open, but it's just a stone, basically. And I don't know what it was from, but it was something similar to, it's a meteorite, but I don't know what kind. This is obviously iron, or metals, absolutely. And they're all in this area, because that's what's in your blood. That's what blood is. That's what blood and tissues and everything. They move back and forth products as you have to give and take. You know, you got to get rid of the bad stuff and take in some good stuff. Oxygen's continuously moving, and everything's getting flushed out in iron oxides. Here's look at this now. Oldest solid material in the solar system. Who came up with that? That's a blood vessel. This is another one of these chondrules, chondrites. This is the artery, and this is the vein. The vein just purged out and, you know, ended up with some silicates in there. But this is my point. Until somebody will discuss this with me. All right, here's that head, that bone head. You see it? There's the two little dots. Right there, same thing. So until they will look at my stuff, I mean, what are you going to do?